So anyway, this is a letter, and I'm going to read through it because I think if I just tell it to you, some of the points that I really want you guys to react to are going to be missed. It's a letter that I wrote recently. It's actually a complaint letter to the State Parks and Recreation Office here in California. Okay, my son Benny is 20 and has autism. We live in Brentwood next to the Palisades in Southern California. Benny has been in special day classes for his entire educational life and in private therapies as well. He's now approaching the age of aging out of school, and it's being stressed by his school CBI program that we engage him more and more in programs in his community, as he will probably be living in this area for many years to come, and after his parents are gone as well. He recently has taken 4 months of therapeutic horse riding and loved being on a horse. There are other aspects of the equine therapy that he really didn't seem to enjoy, and when the trainer was no longer able to keep a schedule, we stopped. However, I got the idea that approaching a riding school at Will Rogers Park to see if he could just have a normal horse experience with neurotypical people, because that's what the law says he's entitled to experience. Being around only disabled or clinical people is not the long-term goal for integrating autistic young adults into their communities. So I called the school in early September and asked the office manager if they work with people with disabilities. I guess the way I posed that, it would have been hard for her to say no. So she did say yes. I explained to her that Benny was autistic, which I didn't have to share. He was low verbal but had had horse experience. I wanted him to go on a trail ride. She said okay. So we did the trail ride, and the guide said that everything went fine. The other customers on the ride with him said he laughed and smiled the whole way and that it was really fun. I asked the guide if Benny was safe on the horse, and he said yes, these horses are really docile. I told him I would sign Benny up for a lesson so he would build his skills, and he said that's a great idea. So on the 22nd of September, he had his lesson. I stayed in the ring with the trainer and offered my input, anything that I felt could help the trainer develop communication and rapport. She didn't ask me for any help, nor did she stop the lesson out of any safety concerns. After the lesson, I asked how he did, and she said fine for a first lesson. I asked her again if he was safe, and she said yes. Well, she must not have told the owner of the riding school the same story, because when I emailed for a second lesson, I was told he was not allowed back to the school, that he should go to equine therapy, which would better suit him. Firstly, for me and for many parents in my situation, that is the cliched, these special people need to go to their special places. This is the way I have seen businesses use the safety issue to refuse services. Such people who admittedly are not that familiar with autism, deciding that these people have motor issues, etc., which is what the owner mentioned in one of her emails to me, and that they only need to be in special programs. For me, this is blatant discrimination. Without incident, based on someone's discomfort about how Benny is different, he's denied access to his community humanitarian park. I did not ask the school to provide equine therapy. Rather, I was trying to baby step Benny into the general community of programs, to find a place to take him where he could become known, and so his differences could become something that the general public would become more aware of, more tolerant of, and more compassionate towards. Instead, the owner sent some very cold emails to us about where Benny should go, about how they didn't know how to deal with him. However, they dealt with him very well on the trail ride and during the lesson. There were no problems. She offered no specifics that would identify anything more than their own fears, prejudices, or maybe even their own inadequacies. The rejection of another lesson was solely based on what kind of problems they thought he would cause because he had autism. And of course, all people with autism have motor problems that are dangerous. I think we've dispelled that tonight. No, did she ask me in any way that would have made Benny more of a person rather than just a diagnosis? No, she didn't. Did she know he can swim, that he can walk a high beam, that he understands when you tell him what to do, and that he never had an accident in equine therapy that caused any kind of safety-related incident? The answer is no to all those questions. Obviously, she didn't care to explore him as a person, but rather as a diagnosis. Did she call me to discuss her concerns and give me a chance to address them through collaboration, which could have led to the discovery of some simple, cost-free accommodations? No, she didn't. All she did was tell me that he had autism and he belonged somewhere with his own kind, basically. I find that lazy, insecure, or strictly for-profit people can easily hide behind the socially acceptable statement, "We're concerned about their safety." But by cutting parents out of the dialogue, they're limiting whether or not they are accurate or just being discriminatory. What would have been acceptable would have been a dialogue of concerns and openness to learn about Benny, his autism in particular, and how to deal with him and not reject him without more of a process. I think after that kind of a talk, an attempt at another few lessons with an agreed upon agenda to help him be successful at his neighborhood program would have been fair. I want Benny to be safe, and if the staff was not a safe group for him, I would have seen that. I was there watching. The teacher actually did a great job with him. She showed some good instincts for reaching him and seemed up for the experience. I guess she didn't like it that much after all. But that doesn't change the law and the rights for the disabled. Nowhere is it written that people with autism can only ride horses in equine therapy or can only go to gyms for special needs. Thank you so much for your response. This is the beginning of a new chapter for Benny and kids his age with autism, how to be accepted, understood, and worked with, unless there is a blatant reason that cannot be solved and collaboration with family has occurred. So, obviously, that was a very painful experience, and I don't know how Benny's processing it. I know he has said horse several times, and I've not found him a place yet, and this is an ongoing process with the state. But again, one of the emails I got made this comment about people with autism have motor differences. They have motor problems. Well, we've been talking all night about how not all differences are dangerous, and the idea in terms of advocacy, not collaborating with a parent, not asking a question, not having a phone call to understand and maybe to be educated, is it really shouldn't be tolerated by any parent or anybody in the community that sees this kind of thing going on. And just wanted to, it was very important to me and to Michael in support of Benny to share that. And I think it really does address advocacy. It addresses neurodiversity, and it addresses this whole misconception about motor differences and how to treat people with differences, and how to very easily say it's not safe as a way of just getting rid of the issue. Thank you for listening.